Welcome guys, gals, and non-binary pals to this week's episode of Buffy Boys, your weekly review of Buffy the Vampire Slayer from a queer, literary and feminist perspective. My name is Joel, I'm one of your hosts, and with me as always is my long-suffering co-host,
Brian.
Hi Brian, how are you?
I'm happy to commit to that one.
Yeah, that one you can follow.
Yeah.
Great to have you with us this week. I meant the audience, not you specifically.
I always feel kind of uncomfortable when you're like, and also, welcome to my podcast, it's Brian. And it's like, no, you don't own this podcast, Joel.
You are welcome to do the introductions.
Oh.
Or talk to a cashier, or do any of that kind of stuff.
Joel, change of plan.
Okay.
We're not talking about that for the bronze banter.
Okay, you've something else? Okay, I'll let you spring on me.
Okay, great.
Okay, so welcome Superfangs to this week's episode of Buffy Boys, where we're talking about Season 4, Episode 2, Living Conditions. So Brian, do you want to count us in with a Buffy Ann summary?
For sure. So this was directed by Daniel Grossman, who last directed Enemies. So go back and listen to that episode if you want to find out about him. And it was written by Marty Noxon, who has written, everything. And we love her. It was aired first aired on October 12th, 1999. So we're getting close to the millennium. Mm-hmm. Millennium approaches.
I got that. That was funny.
Thank you.
Ages America. It's good.
Mm-hmm. And so here's your Buffy Ann summary. That was a really funny joke we made once. And oh my god, what's wrong with us? Because I now say it as if it's a real thing.
I think it's a staple of the podcasting tool belt. It's taking something that was kind of, not necessarily laugh out loud funny, but you smile at it and then just really beat it to death over several years.
It's true. Oh, by the way, we've just come back after a week's hiatus. Controversial, we know.
They're talking about it in our subreddit.
They are. And so if you have complaints, please forward them to www.fuckyourmother.com.
Jesus,
thank you very much.
Where's this energy coming from? This is so unnecessary.
Yeah. So, everyone worries that Buffy is cracking up. Her hostility to Kathy becomes unreasonable and deranged. In fact, her suspicions are right. Kathy is a demon who has been magically removing her soul in order that Buffy be dragged off when Kathy's father comes to take her home. Buffy's soul is restored. Kathy is taken. Willow moves into the room.
I have to say, Brian, bullseye.
So, it's pretty okay.
It can't communicate.
I have no major problems.
It can't communicate the comedic value of this episode.
Oh, it was just so funny.
But as a plot summary,
I think it might be one of my favorite comedy episodes. I think this is one of the things I'm learning on the rewatch of Buffy is just how much I do value the comedy.
Goddamn funny the show is.
Yeah, it really is very funny. Okay, so Joel,
bronze banter. Okay,
bronze banter.
We're sitting in the bronze. We're having either some absinthe or a frappuccino.
Okay, so on Saturday we went to see the All Filla No Killa podcast live, and it was incredible. When I say All Filla No Killa,
you did. Yeah.
Oh, oops, All Killa No Filla. We talked about All Killa No Filla before on this podcast. It's essentially a podcast by two British comedians. One of whom is from Wales, and the other whom is from Manchester. Kiri Pritchard McLean and
Rachel
Fairburn. They're incredibly funny. They have incredible chemistry, and they just talk about serial killers in a respectful and
not respectful of the serial killers. Just be clear,
Well, I mean, even then, My Favorite Murder. They tend to do this thing on live shows where they'll.
This is a different show. My Favorite
Murder. Yeah, it's very famous. It's probably the biggest podcast in the world, maybe. Anyway, but they do this thing where they will they'll do live shows, and it builds up towards a point where the serial killer or the murderer gets put to death, and the whole crowd goes wild and cheers, and they tell them to cheer and stuff. And I find that very distasteful. But, All Killa No Filla tends to be very thoughtful, tends to go into the background of these characters and look at
It also makes a point of always making sure that the victims are named and given their own stories, and it's very respectful of particularly things like sex workers who are often very maligned in these kind of serial killer events.
And ignored, and just first they started killing pets, and then sex workers, and then women.
Yeah.
Stuff like this.
So we stand.
We do, and they're genuinely thoughtful feminists. Mm-hmm. Not to suggest that, they're there's this wave of unthoughtful feminists, but they're well-inspected feminists, which, oh gosh, love it. But we went to see their live show on Saturday.
First Irish show, very excited.
Their first Irish live show. It was wonderful. It was electric. They were so funny and so witty, and just it was a conversation with friends. It was in the Sugar Club in Dublin, And the place was packed. We were shocked. There were like 300 people there.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought it was like a podcast that, we listened to, but like probably no one else kind
I
of
think
thing.
everyone who went thought that.
Yeah. But Joel, do you want to tell us about what happened there?
Okay. Interrupt me if I forget key details, right?
Yeah, we'll do.
So, having set the scene, this is a very, as I said, very woman-forward podcast, a very inclusive environment, like really like admirably so, and something we try to take a lot of learning from. And as that, it's very much of the principle that, like, be sound, be sensible, don't take the piss.
Yep.
Men are welcome if they're being copped on,
Women to the front,
Women to the front, absolutely. And at this show of all shows, shortly before the podcast started, a man entered and was announced himself, and it was just the most bizarre person we've ever encountered in a real life scenario. There's kind of no way to like not spoil it, but essentially, as far as we could determine, he and his, we're going to say girlfriend who was with him.
Yeah, I would. The amount of like kind of flirty and behavior between them indicated to me that they weren't married or anything.
Well, yeah. But his companion anyway. Where so this is 2:00 in the afternoon on a Sunday, or Saturday.
Oh, Saturday.
And they came in clearly completely locked by this point.
I'm not sure if she was. He definitely was.
He definitely was, but he was 95% of the energy, and just incredibly loud, incredibly obnoxious, no inside voice,
incredibly American.
Yeah, and we don't, there are nice Americans, but this person did not represent your country very well. And we know he was American because he mentioned it several times. But essentially, she seemed to have some knowledge of the podcast. He had never seen it before or had any interest in listening or learning. And they were very drunk, and it was standing room only. And initially, he was very aggrieved that his ticket didn't entitle him to a seat. It was general admission. And just he did not have a thought throughout the entire show that he did not voice loudly.
Yeah.
And immediately started disturbing everyone around him. And this went on for like half an hour, 40 minutes,
and the thoughts were not like, so
it was just like the thing that kicked it off initially was, and we're stealing from another show now, but there's a running joke on All Kill No Fill about the fact that Rachel Fairburn has been known to occasionally in her works taking up the arse. And it's a joke, and we were all laying on it, and I thought we're all taking the piss ever, but it's like very friendly, right?
Yeah.
And she was telling a genuine story about someone approached her boyfriend at one of her gigs and asked him in the bathroom if it was true, right? Whatever. And everyone was like, ha ha ha. And then this guy, who has no context of any of this, is like, what is she saying, etc. And then the girl's like, well, this is the joke, and this is the joke. And he's like, what? I love you so much, baby. If anyone said that to me, I smash his face in. He'd end up in a hospital or in the ground. I smash his face in. And in between all of this, he was like sticking his tongue down her throat, like throughout the whole show. It was like very much like, I want everyone to see that I have a girlfriend or whatever. Yeah. So that was kicked off, and us and all the other people around, with the majority of whom were women, were like, ruh-roh. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? And it was just a series of these comments, and it was just like everything they said on stage was either, a reference to the show or something said in a potentially Mancunian accent, and he was like, what was that about? Explain it to me. Explain the joke to me.
I feel so bad that I was like, yeah, Kiri is Welsh and Rachel is from Manchester. It's like one of them's from a country and the other one's from a city. And that's such that's the English privilege. But I don't know what
they define themselves in that way. As in like Kiri very much is like Welsh is her identity, and like Rachel's very proud of being from Manchester. So
true. But I just wish I knew what town or city she's from in Wales, so I don't give like undue weight to like
sure.
whatever.
But anyway, this continued, and there was just like at one point there was a comment about how on stage about someone who seemed like a very nice friend of theirs suddenly turned around and, as we've mentioned on this show before, used the word gypsy in a negative context
as a joke about how like they might steal something from you.
And he heard this and he's like, what did they say, etc. And someone's like, oh, gypsy, it's racist and it's offensive. And he's like, no, it's not. And then everyone's like around him was like, yeah, it is.
A couple of like the women like around were just like, we're not sitting back and just letting this person suggest that like using the phrase gypsy in that context, it's not.
And he did say something along the lines of like not where I'm from, that's a perfectly fine thing where I'm from, all this kind of stuff. Like, why, my dude, why argue this point? Anyway, it got to a point where a number of the people around us were looking to try to like politely, as Irish people tend to do, just be like, sorry, excuse me, would you mind shutting the hell up? And he didn't seem like he'd be very responsive to this, so I kind of stepped into him and I said, sorry mate, would you mind keeping your voice down? And immediately he turned around to me and said, what was it? It was yeah, whatever, pal, take it easy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you've never accepted a criticism in your entire life.
Yeah.
Because I think I, or almost any other ordinary person in this situation,
ordinary or ordinary?
Ornery, or anyone who's being kind of like difficult, you like someone's shushing you and saying that you're mortified immediately. And he immediately was like, I am the protagonist of life and this is my issue. So after all this talk of smashing faces in and all this kind of stuff, for the next 30 minutes of the show, he sulked.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't laugh. He looked down at his beer, and his girlfriend kept rubbing his leg, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, baby. Ignore them. They don't know, etc." And then when we got to the intermission, he took the opportunity to pick a fight with me and with the people around us.
Well, what happened was that there was a girl sitting beside him, and I'd say he was like, basically, he turned to her and said, "What are you fucking looking at?" And then like went to start on her, basically.
Yeah.
Starting on someone for non-Irish people.
Step into.
Yeah, it's basically trying to start a fight with someone.
Yeah, squaring up.
Yeah. So, and I have no doubt that she was staring at him to some degree, as in being like, because
he was. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but just in the sense she was looking at him as appropriately as like, what the hell are you doing?
He kept demanding attention, from everyone around him. He kept doing weird stuff,
sitting in people's seats,
and just like his girlfriend was sitting down at one point, and he kept like stretching over to like. Tongue her, yeah. It was so unusual. But then Joel, of course, stepped up to be like, sorry, mate, and and he turned around and saw that Joel was like 3 times his size, and
I was standing on a step, to be fair.
And quickly was like, we don't have a problem here.
We're all enjoying the show. And I was like, we're not enjoying the show because you keep screaming. And he's like, no, I'm not. He's screaming in my face. No, I'm not. Severely bizarre.
It was nice because everyone around us, it was a nice group of people just being like, what is wrong with this person? Because as soon as you said that to him and this happened, everyone around us came up to me like, are you guys okay? And awful behavior while the guy was standing right there still.
It was actually very Irish in that respect because we were standing, I would say, not in an aggressive sense, but I was shoulder to shoulder with him because it was like a close venue.
Yeah.
And we were standing next to him saying, who's this cunt? Pretty much. He just did nothing. He just sulked. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful.
And then a security guard came around. We pointed him out to the security guard. And then, on a slightly more sinister note, when he saw someone speaking to the security guard, as soon as the security guard came near him, he became incredibly pally with him intentionally. I was like, oh, people have reported you before, mate, haven't they? This is not your first time with a rodeo.
No, yeah, exactly.
But for his sake, I'm glad they didn't hear him from the stage because they would have reefed him by his hair out of the venue.
Yeah, they would have destroyed him.
Yeah. Good show though.
It was a great show. It kind of ruined my experience of it personally, but that's just my personal.
You're very stressed because your cortisol is flowing. Your fight or flight response is I might need to make myself big. Like a bear or something. It was odd, but it kind of reinforced oh, don't be that guy.
Speaking of uncomfortable close quarter situations,
great segue.
Thank
Brian.
you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Living conditions.
Yeah.
Margie Noxon written, so you know it's going to be an absolute laugh.
Margie Noxon tweeted something the other day, which I retweeted from the Buffy Boys account, which is very funny. But people were talking about how it's been 22 years since Passion aired. Also, R.I.P.
Yeah.
Us. But she was like, "Yeah, sorry about that."
Oh, so good. Anyway, so what's really bad is that I sit around sometimes and think about how much better we are than other people.
That is pretty bad.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Pretty awful.
So often when I think about that, when I think about the podcast specifically, it's around things like any person in their right mind when talking about season 2 would highlight something like Becoming Part 2 as their favorite episode of the podcast. And the fact that both of us were like, no, it's Passion. That's kind of nice, and just something I think this episode probably gets overlooked a lot in Buffy circles, Living Conditions, as a funny, forgettable romp.
I would have thought of it as a one-note episode before I rewatched it.
For sure, but we're sitting here and we're about to say that actually it was really, really good.
Yeah, I have to say that, and I said this to you before, whenever you, in appropriate context, as you're trying to do now, say how we're better than other people, you always remind me of Malcolm and Malcolm in the Middle, talking about how
his brain works in like 3 different tracks, and that's why he's so much better than everyone else.
Exactly, and it's just he's being distracted by his babysitter, so he doesn't leave. It's like my neurons are firing off and sparking other neurons, and my head is getting bigger and bigger.
What's really funny about that, I always found, was that like I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because my brain goes on no tracks. They're like, it's a total jumble.
Do you know what's the August note of Malcolm in the Middle? I thought was weirdly, because it was, again, if you ever watch Malcolm in the Middle again, it was a weirdly smarter show than people gave the credit for.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, from season 3 onwards, it would have been a much better show if they could just remove Malcolm.
Yeah.
But anyway.
They always refer to the gift of children as Krell boings and never explain that joke.
Yeah.
I think the guy tell you at one point it was from Little Shop of Horrors.
I think he probably did, yeah.
Yeah, but like just never explains it and just expects you to keep up with it. Anyway, Living Conditions. Possibly one of the funniest Buffy episodes. Definitely the funniest we've seen so far, I think.
Funniest we've seen so far, you reckon?
Well, like in terms of just like moment to moment laughs per minute, and like there are other episodes which make me laugh more at different parts, but this is going for comedy. Like you cannot see Buffy like unhinge her jaw and swallow 2 liters of milk and not be like they're trying to make this.
Oh God,
that's range.
Yeah. So that is our first note here. Sarah Michelle Gellar is a fucking star. The squeezing of her eyes as Willow eats her sandwich at the very end of the episode is just like, it is star material.
So I think your Buffy on summary was very comprehensive, but just for clear context, she becomes obsessed with how annoying her roommate is, Kathy, and how everyone thinks like, okay, everyone hates their roommate, and you're kind of just being a bit of a only child about this, which we'll come back to. And she's like, no, she's evil, and eventually gets to the point where she's like, I'm just gonna have to kill her. And it was like, you've lost your mind. And then in a shock reveal while they're pulling each other's hair, she rips Kathy's face off, and she is actually a demon. But that's the whole thing.
And it's nice because, like, Buffy is acting unreasonably, and that's written into it, but like it's kind of a hand wave in my mind, in the sense that whatever machinations you need to do with the plot to get Buffy to a situation where she wants to kill her roommate because it's college years. I think it's very important, if we're talking about how great Buffy is in this episode, to point out that Kathy's actor, Dagny Kerr, is wonderful.
It's a great name.
It is a great... Dagny's a lovely Irish... I think it's quite Irish, actually.
Yeah.
I have to imagine it comes from Dagda or some form of that, because Dagda is one of the Irish gods.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, she's great. She's playing kind of like a corn-fed Nebraska girl.
I have something to say about that.
Okay.
So, when Xander says, Big Sky Country, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think of when you hear Big Sky Country?
I don't know, big open plains or something like that?
Sure. Montana.
Sure,
is like, that's Big Sky Country. It's literally, that's the state, is the Big Sky Country is Montana. Yeah. And the fact that she doesn't react when he says, Big Sky Country, is indication that she is not from Nebraska. She has just picked somewhere very far away.
Very good. I do like that. And also the fact that she is seated in the first episode.
She is.
Like, which is like Buffy is as a show is quite good at doing, in the sense that it has texture. It's not, sometimes you people who are in 3 episodes or 4 as opposed to 1 or 3 seasons.
Yes,
there's kind of different depth to it, which is really, really good, I think.
Dagny Kerr, great performance. Really, really unlikable, and really just like, I mean, you kind of you flitter so nicely between Buffy's so unreasonable and also you do kind of want to kill her.
Like, the main note in her portrayal initially is that she keeps playing the same Celine Dion song.
Joel.
Oh, sorry.
You are the worst queer
That's not what I meant to say.
Ever heard of. Yeah. Okay. Joel. Who was it? He just made that. I don't know about me. It's Cher.
Oh my god! Sorry. Oh my god! No, I'm sorry.
I'm not editing that out. I'm sorry.
I do know Cher. My mother was obsessed with Cher. My mom, if you're listening to this, I'm very sorry. I thought Celine Dion because she put the poster up with Celine Dion.
She does
in the previous episode.
I was reading actually an essay, which is "My Boyfriend's in a Band" by a writer whose name is something that I did not note down because I'm a bad person. But I've talked about it before, and if anyone wants to find it, I'll let you know what it is. But about the kind of the youth speak inherent in the music in this episode. So Kathy being obsessed with Cher's Do You Believe in Life After Love, which I don't know the name of that song. Believe? It's Believe, right?
It's Believe, yeah.
Kind of indicates that she is not of this generation. She's not in with the youth. And eventually, when Willow moves in, she hangs up another poster, which is the Dingoes Ate My Baby poster. And also, she there's a 4-Star Mary song playing in the background. 4-Star Mary, of course, being the band who performed all the Dingoes Ate My Baby music.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it's a kind of natural return to youthful order when you put up the grunge poster, and I suppose and excising the kind of not subhuman pop music that is Celine Dion and Cher.
Wow.
It's the late 90s, Joel. Do you think that anyone at the age of 19 was going around listening to Cher? But it's also very important to note, one point, I'm pretty sure this was the reference here, but Buffy talks to Willow and says, like, oh, hopefully she'll be, I'll just find the quote 1 second. I think Buffy says to Willow, I bet before too long she'll be trip hopping all over the place. So, and it's funny because my boyfriends in the band essay actually didn't reference this, but that is specifically a reference to trip hop, which is a genre of music from the 90s, mid to late 90s, from bands like Portishead, Tricky, I'm trying to think who else. I mean, like, to be honest, Portishead is the trip hop band that you want to be listening to.
You're just reading out my gym playlist at the moment, Brian.
Of course. But trip hop being, like, incredibly cool. Like, it was a very, very, like, chill, cool, British, like, genre of music. And anything, whenever you're talking about music in the past for Americans, the more British, the more cool, realistically.
Yeah.
But it was a really nice little touch for Buffy. I mean, like, Buffy, not necessarily the person with the coolest taste, the way we read her, usually. And it was establishing her as being young and youthful and in with the kind of the culture.
And being able to discern those things. Because she has that Cordelia-esque DNA in her that, like, I don't think should ever really be excised, because that's a core part of, like, she's still who she is even though she's a Slayer.
Absolutely.
Is this the first example, or one of the more prominent examples of ostensibly a teenager not being able to Buffy speak or not being part of that?
No. Specifically which?
Oh yeah, good point. I think this is a very self-evident clue here, though, as well. Like, everyone's kind of weirded out by her, and just it's such a good note, because up until she starts labeling her eggs individually, but, like, a lot of the stuff that she asks initially, it's, like, not not unreasonable, or not, like, not insane.
Yeah,
as in, like, you could we've all been in at least one situation where you've been living with someone, or you've been rooming with someone, or you've been a college group or somewhere, something like that, where, like, your way of doing things just is not compatible with me, and it's because of close quarters. I'm exaggerating how difficult it is. I think she plays that note very well, but, like, really, like, the winds of time when she's like, keep track of who you call on the landline with his tag, so when the bill comes in,
it's so uncomfortable.
It's very odd. I've always thought that I didn't live residentially on campus in college, and I know neither did you, because you were with me. I always think the idea of, like, sharing a room with someone like this is, like, really intense.
Yeah. I know some people who did it in college, who, like, shared a room specifically in halls in Trinity. I'm not sure why I said that so posh. Halls
in Trinity College.
Yeah, exactly. But they found it torturous, I believe.
And there's a nice set. I like the bedroom set because it's really spacious. You can do a lot of things in it. They have a whole fight scene in that set, easily. There's 2 doors to the left and right. Where could they go? Could they go into the next room?
So Buffy locks one of them at one point because it's her press, her wardrobe. Yeah. So the Kathy. Do you see her when she puts the padlock on the door?
Yeah.
That was to stop Kathy from getting to her sweaters.
Okay.
So that's what that was.
Oh, so good.
It's so fucking petty.
Like, from the start, like, one of the very first things Kathy says in this episode is, like, remember Buffy, a stiction time, and Buffy says, catches the worm. And I was like, that's funny. Like, I would say that.
Yeah, that was good.
Those two things aren't usually compatible, but I found
and I think that Buffy isn't necessarily the worst roommate in this episode. You know, I think she is losing her mind because, part of the thing is that basically Buffy is actually having her soul removed, which is why she's acting so unreasonably and so aggressively. Like, you know, the note at which she says, yeah, she's not normal, she's evil, and I realize what I have to do. I have to kill her. And it's so calm, the way she delivers this, and it worries everyone. Like, that's obviously extreme. But, like, I don't know. I'm not sure if she necessarily does anything all that awful, right? Like she
like shotgunning that 3 liter of milk was pretty intense.
No, at the beginning of the episode, I think Kathy has done a lot worse.
She starts collecting her toenails at one point.
She uses a bit of her milk for her coffee, and it's like, how much milk would you put in coffee anyway?
Is there a note to this that like was Kathy? Like Kathy was specifically being annoying, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like taking someone's clothes. That's really. I mean, like, okay. Here's one of the issues of this episode presents that, to my mind, is Kathy unfortunate? Do we sympathize with Kathy?
So her backstory is basically she escaped from some demon dimension to go to college. To go to college, exactly, and she doesn't want to go back, and that's it, really.
Yeah. But like, you know, she's like being pulled back by her father, and you know she doesn't want to go home, and she wants to have a normal kid experience.
She doesn't have a soul.
And neither does Spike, Joe.
This is true, but that's usually the show's shorthand for like we don't have to care about these people. But that is obviously quite, you know, that can be quite problematic because anywhere in fantasy fiction where you have these people look like people but they're not actually people can be very odd territory sometimes.
Yeah.
Is she unfortunate? I think the main thing with this episode is it is low stakes. Mm-hmm. As much murder is implied. Yes, it's unfortunate she has to go back, but it's played for laughs. It's like, oh, you have to get dragged back down and clean hell and do your chores and all that.
And also, she has tried to steal Buffy's soul. So,
key thing, she did actually try to take Buffy's soul, and she also poured animal blood in her mouth while she was asleep.
True.
That actually happened. That wasn't like a dream.
Those dream sequences were quite cool. They're kind of creepy.
I think Buffy does this thing, and Buffy and Angel do this thing where they have demons have neon or luminescent blood or eyes or glow in the dark mouths and stuff. And I just always think it's pretty cool. And
the eyes were cool here, yeah.
I can't think of much before this that did that. I think it's carried through, and like Attack the Block had really good design in that so respect. Good. Yeah, but it's a nice note. You know, it's I think it's one of the very visually distinctive aesthetic things of the show that I always remember.
That's a good point. I agree. And the demon design was quite cool. They're kind of gross, wrinkly guys. They're
kind of Freddy Krueger-esque.
They were. And actually, the moment where half her face gets pulled off, I thought it was so well done. It was so fun.
There's no lead up to it.
Yeah, because the lead up to it is that like Buffy has just said, "Look at her nails. They're growing. I've measured them." And everyone's like, ooh,
like there's a fraction of a second where you're like, did she just pull off a woman's face?
Yeah,
which is effective. Yeah. And it's so sticky when it comes off as well. They're not usually sticky.
It's gross. I hate it. So one of the fun things about this episode is that Xander and Willow are just like, and Giles are all like, what the fuck is wrong with Buffy? Actually, it's quite a lot of highlighting of Oz in this episode specifically.
Yes.
Because what happens is that Oz goes with Buffy on her patrol to keep an eye on Buffy, basically, to make sure she's not going crazy. And he also helps to tackle her down to keep her under control while they're worried that she's going to go off and kill someone.
Yeah, after which she conks his and Xander's heads together.
Yeah, in a great another comedic moment.
Yeah.
What I'd say is that this is like part of the theme of the season is Willow and Xander specifically gaining, and Giles to some degree, gaining independence and identity apart from Buffy. Starting to think for themselves and to question Buffy's inherent leadership, you know, which I think it's a useful note, and it's nicely threaded through these early episodes.
Yeah, like with the very kind of obvious but fun note of Giles trying to get into jogging, and ordering motor, bike, and scooter monthly. I do like. I've always enjoyed how they start to like vary his personality a bit. And I always think I don't like the style of the architecture, but he's a lovely apartment. He seems to have this little courtyard which
it's very like Spanish inspired.
Well, yeah, it would be, but they're very distinctively. But he has this little courtyard they hang out in, which is like seems to be mostly his.
Yeah, and there's lovely like Spanish tiles all over the place. It's lovely.
Yeah, and how is he paying for it? Given that, like, presumably, maybe it was just bought by the council.
Oh, maybe
it was bought outright by the council.
Maybe,
sense.
but why would he still be there then? He
Because
presumably dead.
no one's gone to any effort to do anything about it.
Okay.
On a slightly tangential note, I was reading the Buffy wiki today for something. Apparently, there's a note in the comics much later on where he talks about how much of a pathetic weasel Wesley is, etc. So apparently, he never speaks to Wesley again.
Oh, good.
As in, but in the sense that he doesn't know that he turned into like a bit of a ride in Angel, but got a lot of confidence and stuff. You know, he just thinks he's still the same snivelly old Wyndham Price.
Speaking of actually Anthony Head, we were watching The Stranger recently, which is a Netflix UK crime mystery
About people who sit on their hands.
Okay, get it now. Cool. And Anthony Head popped up in episode 2 by complete beautiful look.
Weren't expecting him there.
No, it was great to see him though. He doesn't really do much. He did Merlin for years. Sorry, was that what it was called?
Merlin, yeah. Like Uther Pendragon.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great to see him, and he's looking great. He seems to be doing well, and his acting chops are, still present.
I think he's very much at the point where or has been for a while, where he doesn't need to do a lot of work. He does what he enjoys. I think otherwise he just takes care of his horses. It's
kind of surprising he never did any movies. He would have been a great movie star.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, so one of the notes in this episode, we see Veruca that's threading some stuff into the next couple of episodes.
So, what is up with that?
The name Veruca.
Yeah, because the only human person I know who's been called Veruca otherwise is in Willy Wonka,
Salt,
and that's a deliberate
she's gross and she grows on the bottom of your foot.
Yeah, stuff like that. So why is this? Is that? I'm genuinely unclear. Is that a name people have?
No. Not that I know of, Joel. God, I hope not. I'm going to look it up. Okay, so according to nameberry.com... Nameberry. Oh my God. I've had to X out of 8 different things here. The name Veruca is a girl's name of Latin origin meaning wart. Veruca is a name Roald Dahl made up for the horrid little girl Veruca Salt in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So, I mean, it's not a real name.
It's an odd choice.
It is a very odd choice. Maybe it is specifically a Willy Wonka reference.
Well, anyway, she's in this episode.
Yeah, she is. So they're just Oz is just walking in the night, and he walks past her and a couple of other people. And Veruca, of course, is a werewolf, and she'll become relevant in a future episode. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you were saying before we started, this episode is quite while physically close quarters, is actually thematically quite close quarters. Mm. So coming from the last week's episode, which was an overview of college as a whole, this is very much just zooming in. What do you think that is?
Yeah, I think it's a necessary breath of fresh air, or to use a less cliche phrase, kind of an intermission, mm-hmm. Because you have just incredible tempo for the last 4 or 5 episodes, 6 episodes or so, kind of at the end of season 3 and up into the start of season 4 and all that. And Buffy doesn't necessarily, its strength is not. I think about Buffy kind of like Jaws, in the sense you're not meant to look directly at the big bad that much, and it doesn't do grandeur that well or that intentionally. So I think you have to pull back and be a bit personal stories, and just we're just hanging out and we're just with the characters we like, and we're kind of developing this world kind of really organically, because as much as this is a close episode thematically, and we learn a bit more about where people are emotionally and all that kind of stuff. Parker Abrams is introduced in it, Veruca is introduced in it. There's a little bit about the initiative in the background, so it does tick over nicely. But I actually think it's just a nice place to visit sometimes. Buffy,
they seem to bring Marty Noxon in quite often just to be listen, we needed an episode to fill in here, could you just write something funny and good? Yeah, look at Bewitched, Bothered and Bewildered. That was literally just Sarah Michelle Gellar got called off the set to do something, so they're we'll turn her into a rat and we'll just figure something else around her. This feels like another one of those where it's just listen, we need to put in a second episode. Marty, could you just write something? Yeah, knocked out of the park. It's comedically very, very tight. It's very well performed. It's beautifully shot. Specifically, they have loads of I noticed there's lots of they've now made the move to 35mm, or maybe they already had in season 3, but they're making full use of it. There's lots of lovely out of focus backgrounds and some nice bokeh, which is always appreciated. And they do some really fun dramatic zoom ins on Buffy's face when she's disgusted by
dun, dun, dun,
yeah, exactly. or lots of like, funny playfulness in terms of the structure, where you get things like when Kathy is cutting off her nails, like the clipping of that noise driving Buffy insane. The Foley work in this episode was actually really good.
There's some early ASMR in this, because there's the bit where like Buffy's like aggressively eating a potato chip, just very slowly, and all you can hear is the crunch.
But like when Kathy is like doing this to her nails, at one point it goes incredibly slow and it's like
I'm never seeing a nail clipping so high res.
I know, yeah, exactly. And it was just like, so yeah, it was very well very well filmed and very well staged.
We watched this episode in the high def version again today, but like so those nail clippings were just like artificially smooth. So what's
actually kind of funny is that Parker, wasn't name Parker Abrams? Did you notice this? I'm not sure if it's in the DVD version as well, so it could either be facial smoothing on the Blu-ray the HD remasters, or it could be that's actually just exposed by the higher res, or it could be that it's in the DVDs. But like, he just had a face full of foundation. You could just see on his neck where his neck was a different color. Yeah. Somewhere I read pointed out that Parker, his kind of womanizing, disrespectful ways are present even in this episode. So when he comes up to Buffy, he's checking her out kind of like up and down from behind first, and then he's giving Kathy his number in the room when he goes to visit Buffy. So Buffy obviously in the coming episodes gets quite attached to Parker, inappropriately so. So, well, not inappropriately so, not
undeservedly so.
Undeservedly of Parker. Absolutely, he does not deserve her attention. So, worth keeping an eye out for.
Yeah, I will obviously talk more about Parker, but he's interesting because it's like everyone that Buffy has met up to this point has kind of wore their colours on their sleeve a bit, be it blockheads in high school or villains and all that kind of stuff. So this is kind of much more about the complexity of people. Yeah, as we go forward.
Okay, do you want to move into the dusting, Joel?
Yes.
All right. Do you want a couple of Buffy bits?
Give me those Buffy bits from the bottom of the bag.
Oh,
please,
okay.
Brian.
So, Andy Kaufman, who plays Parker, was also in the...
Andy Kaufman?
Yeah, it's his name.
Weird.
Yeah. Was also in the 2002 Spielberg sci-fi miniseries, Taken. Did you watch that?
Now that you've said it to me, it's all come back in one recollection. Yes, I did watch Taken.
Was it any good?
Oh, I only remember it now. So
Steven Spielberg was involved in it.
It had that weird over-egged thing that he did with AI as well. I think I know you love AI, but
I love AI because it's not a Steven Spielberg movie. It is a Stanley Kubrick movie.
Steven Spielberg is definitely attached to it.
Stanley Kubrick like developed it and produced it and was on like it's his movie that Steven Spielberg finished.
Sure. Yeah, so, I know, but there's just that element to it,
I think it's brilliant. I think AI is genuinely a brilliant movie.
Too long.
So, as you were talking about earlier, it's also the shortest episode of Buffy that aired in the WB.
I wasn't talking about that earlier. I said that in the audio test before we started recording.
You probably know this yourself, but this is the first episode since Inca Mummy Girl without any vampires.
True, yeah. Just emotional vampires. And the other episodes that have no vampires are Witch, The Pack, I, Robot You Jane, The Puppet Show, and the next one's going to be Beer Bad, and that's going to be the last one because, of course, in season 1 there were plenty of them because Angel was only a guest actor. In seasons 2 and 3, Angel's in every episode, I think, pretty much. And then from mid-season 4 onwards, Spike is in every episode up until the end of the show. So there you go. At one point, Xander says that Buffy's doing a Linda Blair on us, which of course is a reference to Linda Blair, who played which character? Sorry, Linda Blair played by Tatum O'Neal. No, am I right there? Linda Blair plays the character.
What's the character's name though?
Find out a second.
It's a girl. It's a boy's name, kind of, or it's a very militaristic name.
Reagan.
Yeah. So yeah, Linda Blair, who plays Reagan in The Exorcist, 1970 something.
1973.
1973.
Just off the top of my head.
Also in the film is Ellen Burstyn, who we love, and Linda Blair was a guest judge on Drag Race at one point.
Bizarrely so.
Oh yeah, we get a Cordelia reference. I think Willow says that Buffy's going full Cordelia on us. Wait, probably not. She says something like that.
No, I think she does.
Anyway,
That's
so
right.
which is just interesting because they haven't really acknowledged Cordelia's absence much.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, which I think is actually kind of crappy of them. I think they should be saying we miss our friend Cordelia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all my specific notes.
I enjoyed that Giles was excited about getting a copy of the Gutenberg Demonography.
Yeah, that was cute.
Which is an allusion to the Gutenberg Bible, which was the original printed book using the printing press.
Oh, I'm totally aware, don't worry.
I'm speaking to our audience, Brian, as well.
Oh, I thought you were trying to update you.
No, I'm contextualizing.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm weaving a tale. Specifically, people allude a couple of times in this episode to the idea that Buffy finds it difficult to live with people because she's an only child, which obviously very specifically that she won't be as soon as Dawn is introduced, but she does specifically find Dawn very difficult to be around as well.
I feel like she gets more irritable around Dawn, as in I think she deals with people worse because she has a sister. But anyway.
Entirely possible, and potentially an excuse that you're creating using our podcast. I like the fact that all the extras who have always been college age are now in college.
That's true.
Because everyone looked a bit more age appropriate.
That's true. Anyway. Do you want to do... Oh, go on.
The last thing I'll say is that, once again, the Initiative have zero stealth whatsoever. This is a very highly lit campus in like 7 p.m. and there's just 6 guys on full camo just walking down the path. Like, there's no sense to in this to me at all.
No, it's wild. Okay, do you want to do some fashion notes?
Please do.
Okay. Oz's jacket was great, right?
Great jacket.
He's wearing like a shearling, nice like jacket. Kind of looks like something that your man...
Is this where you got it from?
It looks like your man from Only Fools and Horses, except not for old people.
The horsehair jacket specifically, Del Boy has, I think.
Oh, really? So when the jumper that Kathy steals has like little flowers on it, and to be honest, I would drop ketchup on it as well. It was gross.
Jacket
it was awful. I have no idea how anyone could look in Buffy's closet and be like, here we go. Giles is wearing quite a nice jumper.
Yeah,
he's going quite like dad clothes at the moment, which I appreciate.
He's the kind of person apparently who exercises while wearing a jumper, which is like a very specific thing you see men of a certain age doing. Yeah,
it's so true. And Xander is wearing a pink shirt. It's a pink short sleeve shirt.
Sure.
And it's not the worst thing in the world. I didn't hate it. Oh, and last note, Kathy's hair, if we're talking about fashion, so much gel in it, and she looks like someone like just like it looks like someone like a team of people just stood around her head with like hair dryers and just like blasted them, so her hair just went like straight back and just like threw some gel in it.
My head is getting itchy with you even describing it.
Yeah, and that's just left it at that. Yeah. So, do you have any fashion notes, Joe?
No, I think you covered a lot of my fashion there. I think, again, people are dressed very Backstreet Boys in the extras. Parker's clothes look like he's about to be inflated.
Yeah, true.
They just look it all looks very uncomfortable to wear. I agree. I think like, I don't know, maybe it's a very old person or a young person to say, but I just feel like clothes are more comfortable nowadays than they look in old-timey TV shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Wow. Death count?
0.
Great.
No death.
And Joel, what is your rating for the week?
Oh, what is my rating for the week? I will give this 8.2 individually labeled eggs.
8.2 is exactly what I've written down too.
Boo boo boo.
Yeah, 8.2 mod joggers out of 10.
Very good. Very good.
So yeah, it was loads of fun. Actually, I kind of feel like bumping it a little bit, but listen, loads of fun. Had a blast watching it, and yeah, I have no complaints.
Great.
Yeah.
First time for everything.
Do you want to do... Oh, and so a couple of notes I have here. Just the most important things about this episode is, one, Buffy drinking that milk is the most psychopathic thing I've ever watched anyone do.
I can't stop thinking about it.
Looking someone straight in the eyes and downing 2 liters of milk aggressively while it's spilling all down your front is what the kind of pettiness I aspire to.
She's my hero.
Yeah. Buffy's eyes narrowing as Kathy drops the ketchup on her sweater is just so incredible. And the closing shot is one of the funniest things in all of Buffy, where she looks like she's about to stab Willow because of the sandwich. It's just incredible.
It doesn't let up at an 8 point.
No. Okay, so the Cordelia chase. Joel, I cannot remember what happened in that fucking episode of Angel because we watched like 2 weeks ago.
Lonely Hearts. Again, so basically it's the first. It has the difficulty of being the first regular episode of Angel. That's not a pilot.
Yeah.
It introduces a recurring character in Angel called Kate Lockley, who's a detective with
I quite like her.
Yeah, a detective with the LAPD, who over time, has a police officer, private detective relationship with Angel, and eventually finds out he's a vampire, etc., etc. It's interesting for a couple of reasons. One is that it was a replacement for a episode which had been in that slot previously, which was meant to set the dark tone of Angel and had
Kate as a sex worker,
undercover,
right?
as a sex worker who had a crack cocaine addiction and had a whole thing about just a very dark and a very long ogre type storyline for it. And I think after writing it and doing some work on it, everyone collectively agreed that this is not what we're trying to go for, essentially.
Yeah.
So this was kind of a replacement to introduce the same character. It's interesting in the sense that it's trying to start to determine how they work together as a group. You have Cordelia being very industrious, making business cards. Angel Investigations, we're here to help.
It's the worst business card of all time.
Trying to recruit people in clubs and all that, but it's struggling a little bit with its kind of 20-something tone as opposed to teenage tone, because they go to clubs and everyone's wearing brightly coloured shirts.
I think Angel, himself, knows the awkwardness inherent in the form, because he just walks up to people in the club saying, "Do you need help?"
Yeah, it's very good. I always enjoy that. And then where does Doyle fit into that as kind of the half demon assistant and the visions and all that?
He doesn't really.
But so it's definitely Monster of the Week, and the monster in question is like the twist is meant to be, it's a classic kind of serial killer thing. Someone's a serial killer, attacking all these women and that kind of stuff, but it's a monster.
Women and men,
but I think primarily women initially. It's kind of the hook. It's a demon that's jumping from boggy to boggy. So it's a possession and Promethean.
Yeah.
But similar to this week's episode in the sense of just like a violation, a sleep possession, and that kind of thing.
Protean, not Promethean.
Yeah.
There's an incredibly bad montage in it. Maybe the worst thing in any Buffy or Angel episode to this point.
It's trying very hard.
They are basically doing they genuinely do a montage of we are so sad, we can't find the demon. They're all broody and stuff, and it's just the fucking worst.
People who are clearly models who haven't gotten their SAG card yet, kind of being killed naked, and hairless. It's an odd one. But I think in the 2 episodes we've seen so far of Angel, I think there's been more people of colour than there's been in Buffy so far. So
true.
That's one thing it has going for it.
Do you want to give it a rating? We're going in whole numbers, and we're going failed feminist gestures.
I would say probably 5 failed feminist gestures.
I was going to say 4 failed
that might
feminist
be
gestures.
Being generous. I think Kate is a strong character. Kate is one of the best elements of the early seasons. Never really gets the fair shake her character needs,
which is the Angel way, really.
Yeah, and the actress who played, I actually can remember this, Elizabeth Rom, who plays Kate, is famous for being a character in Law and Order who came out in her last 4 seconds on the show because she gets fired for doing something, like she's a DA or something. She gets fired for doing something unethical, and she's like, "Oh, okay. Is it because I'm a lesbian?" And the captain says, "No." And she says, "Good." And that's it. And that's the only time it's mentioned. So I should have placed my heart for that as well. But yeah, I say maybe, I'm going to stick with 5 just because I'm the nice guy. But I'm
going to stick with 4, and then the more you talk, I'm going to go towards a 3.
Okay.
We also went to see Birds of Prey last night. I've been cooling down on it extremely. I came out and gave it a 5.8. I'm trending towards much lower.
Look, I enjoyed it. We can talk.
I was so ready to love it. Just Margot Robbie, women directing and filming, directing and writing an action movie. I'm all about that stuff. But the dialogue was some of the worst in any movie I've ever seen.
DC films as a whole, not great, but it was fun. It was coherent. It had the first mainstreamed and focused queer character in a major superhero film.
Sure, out of the 5 main characters, 5 main protagonists, 2 were queer.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, it has elements you would love to and put in a better film. But I had a ball. I don't know. I just turned my brain off. And
what did you give it when you walked out of the cinema?
I don't remember.
8.8.
I said 7.8, and I said I was giving an extra 1 as a freebie because I loved a lot of the things in it. Do you know what I mean? Because they're very my shit.
Yeah, sure.
Like the Huntress, played by the actress who played Ramona Flowers in Scott Pilgrim, can shoot me in the neck. Like, honestly.
Yeah, she's beautiful. She was also in the Cloverfield, not the Cloverfield Paradox, obviously the Cloverfield. What was the second one?
I'm actually blanking on the second film entirely. Oh, the 10 Cloverfield Lane.
10 Cloverfield Lane. She was in that movie as well. No, she's a great actress. Yeah. She's very watchable. She has huge eyes, and she's just like, she conveys a lot through them.
Like, I wouldn't tell people not to watch Birds of Prey. I would say watch it and make your own decision.
Sure, it's very colorful. It's very entertaining, and the fight sequences are super good fun.
Yeah, the fight sequences are a standout. I would just say specifically, I find that they choreograph combat as for women, in the sense of how women could actually move. And interact,
i.e. lesser than men, is what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Why do you hate women, Joe?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a certain element of like that there was women involved with this process. I found from watching it, as opposed to just treating women like palette swapped men in those roles. Yeah,
or like, you know, that other incredibly offensive thing where it's just like women are like sneaky and can like crush men with their thighs, and just like, oh, can we make this sexy, or can we make this into a situation where women have to be like magic users and all this stuff? It's
this is very physical.
Allow women to be like, you know, everything that men can be, because you're cowards if you don't.
Like this is very much like, it's a portrayal of like women who are strong through like fitness as opposed to like aesthetics, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I getcha. It's not male gazy. That's a good point. To a large degree, I would agree. I don't think the film was male gazy. One of the things I saw I saw a great tweet online actually about it, saying that men were disappointed in the movie because Harley Quinn wasn't sexy enough in it, and it was just like 4 pictures of Harley Quinn from the movie and people being like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Because like, she's just so clearly like, you know, like an actual like pinup, but like deranged pinup character. Yeah, you know, she's gorgeous. She's incredibly sexualized by her own choice. She looks incredible. Yeah, Margot Robbie is. I think Margot Robbie is genuinely. I think she's going to win multiple Oscars. I've always been a little cool on Margot Robbie. Not love her, but I think this weirdly has like maybe reevaluate that. Okay, we've talked enough about Birds of Prey. Yeah, Birds of Prey. That was our Bronze Binter. Yes, that was our bird hunk. Okay. Raven's Milk. Next week is going to be same thing again. Pretty much talking about Buffy. One second. We mentioned what the name of the episode was, and I was hoping that you would know it. So next week we have on Buffy Boys, which is the podcast that we make and you were listening to, is going to be Fear Itself, which I'm so excited for. It's so good. I love it. It's the tiny demon. Great. Okay, well, take us home, Brian. Okay, well, thank you very much for listening to Buffy Boys. If you liked it, please tell your dogs, tell your cats to listen next time to Buffy Boys. Buffy Boys. Was that it? Buffy Boys. Did I do it right? Buffy Boys. What else was I supposed to say? That was good. Okay, great. You did great. Oh, I'm so glad. Okay. Bye. See ya. Buffy bye. Buffy bye. Stop laughing now.